Peace. You are tuned into Moors in America. Right now, I want to share something with you. Just want to go over some stuff real quickly. So briefly, we have a Facebook group. Now, Moors in America also has a Facebook page. Make sure you like and follow that page. But there's also a group, so you can search if you haven't found it before. You can also go in the video description, join, search for Moors in America, and join the Facebook group. So we see posts in there from all over the place, from Moors that are all over the country, even in other countries. Moors are in Trinidad and Barbados. Moors are all over the world, literally. All right. And there's so many different ideologies, so many different viewpoints. And I just want to talk on or just briefly discuss some of the stuff that I'm seeing in there and see if I'm trying to get this up here for you so that you can see exactly what I'm talking about right now. But there's so many just different points of view. And, sometimes it's interesting to see what people are saying, what people are thinking. But then also, you have a lot of faulty information out there. So let me see if I can bring this up for you. There we go. Okay, so we have the screen up here now. Once again, this is the Moors in America Facebook group. You may already be following the page, right? This is the Moors in America page right there, but we also have the Facebook group, so make sure you join that group. Just wanted to share a post. This post right here is not attacking anyone in particular, but I did see a post, and there's some information that's being shared in there that is faulty. And I wanted to point it out because there's several things in here that are faulty, and I think that even just sharing this type of faulty information and not clarifying things, not bringing any clarity to the situation, it just allows more chaos and confusion to spread, right? And if there's no voice of reason to sit up and say, "Hey, look, hey, hold up, let me explain," right? Then that's why you have so many people all over the place that think all types of things that actually have nothing at all to do with being Moorish American. So let me just go to this post right here. So this one we have here, it's in the Moors in America group. Once again, make sure you join that group. Um, Now, looking at the post here, it says, Moors, embrace your real nationality as the Tartarian and claim it all. Moorish American is a new brand that was created in the late 1800s by a European and later adopted by Walter Blister in the 1920s. And it is on the same level as African American, but worse, since African American is named after two landmasses. However, there is no landmass or language called Moorish American, and it is only valid inside the minds of indoctrinated religious Moors that worship and follow their religious prophet, Walter Blister, aka Timothy Drew, someone you all never met before. And then this goes on to say, was he even real? Why did he have to plagiarize the holy book of the Moors, the Circle 7 Quran, from the Aquarian Gospel of Christ? Why did his teachings make so? I'm going to rewind back here. First off, it's basically saying, hey, throw off those titles. Don't call yourself Moorish American. Claim to be Tartar or Tartarian, and then you claim it all. Saying that Moorish American was created by a European and adopted by Walter Blister. I'm assuming he's talking about Walter Brister. Let me show you Walter Brister. So he's saying that Walter Brister took this title on Moorish American and that it's no better than being African American. And that, he brought this to the people. Walter Blister, aka Timothy Drew. All right. And I just want to speak on that because there's so much, so much faulty information in here. You see people, don't really know what's going on. People liking it that, just like they don't know. They don't know. Maybe they see the post about the Tartarians and they're like, okay, I've heard about that before. That sounds interesting, you know. Pardon. Um, well, let me show you where this guy that made that post is getting this information from. So when he's saying Walter Blister, he's talking about this guy, Walter Brister. Um, there's a man, a European man, named Jacob Dorman, who wrote a book called The Princess and the Prophet. The Princess and the Prophet. And in his book, he asserts that someone who's named Walter Brister, who died in 1914, that he faked his death in 1914 and reemerged in Chicago as Prophet Noble Drew Ali. And you see also in that previous post, he says, AKA Timothy Drew, right? So there's more that don't know if his name was Thomas Drew or Timothy Drew, but that's a whole other discussion. But he's saying that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali is really this guy, Walter Blister. And that is really what I want to talk about, because that's a huge, you got to stop right there. Because even if you look through all of the sources in Jacob Dorman's book, and he's a professor. This is no attack on Jacob Dorman either. He's a professor. I'm sure he's, well studied. I think he's a professor of religious studies, or, expert on different religious movements and things of that nature um, in the Americas. But this book is just asserting that this guy, Walter Brister, who was like a magician or a circus performer, that he faked his death in 1914 and reemerged as the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. We're going to get up a picture of the Prophet right here, because just, there's a lot of mistakes and holes in these assertions. And some of them are so blatant. It's just like, he's going off of pictures and saying that he's got a mole right here. Prophet has a mole right there. There's a lot of stuff that's being said and asserted to that just, it just doesn't seem very scholarly to me. Who am I, right? Who am I to say? Now, I'm not the professor, right? I'm just giving my, understanding, sharing my understanding. But this guy is saying that these two people are the same person. So, and going off of pictures, mind you, going off of pictures that are nearly 100 years old, or they are 100 years old in the case of Walter Brister. So this picture is from 1925 of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and this is Walter Brister. And just off of comparing the two pictures, now I know a lot of people, especially people from outside of our communities, they think we all look alike, right? I had a friend, right, who we both wore glasses, both light skinned, right, similar height, similar build, and people thought we would, look like, even the teacher, our club, our art teacher, always called us by the same name, right? Mixing our names up. And and she was Asiatic, still did it. So it's not even just the people outside of our, community that get us mixed up, but all types of people do. But a lot of people, they think we all look alike. But the the main basis. Now he does have some circumstantial evidence talking about the movements of them, which we can get into some of this now. But the main thing he's going off of, the mole, saying there's a mole that the Prophet had, right? And putting the pictures up, knowing that their facial structure, even their lip, and their nose bridge, these are different. These are two different people. These two people don't even look alike, right? But this is the assertion, and the main assertion is going off of photographic, I guess you could say, evidence, right? And so he's saying that this guy who died in 1914 reemerged as the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Now, this is not taking into account the fact that from 1925 up until present day, there are people who were connected to the temple, and even people who knew the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and even people like Pearl, Sister Pearl, who were married to the Prophet, who knew him, right? Had ties to him, knew him. Some even knew him before he became the leader of this movement. Like there's an oral statement where the Prophet Noble Drew Ali met brother Charles Kirkman Bey, C. Kirkman Bey, and when he met him, he alluded to having already known him. He knew him from the past. So there's people who actually knew him, had a relationship with him, that could, attest to the claims made in this book, that could clear up some of the confusion that's being brought here. Now, somebody who's outside of the community can just look at anything, especially with the internet now, pull up the picture and say, oh, this is the same person. Look at that. And then you can go and you can get sources to make whatever case you want to make. Even if the sources aren't that good, you can do it. Even if you have death certificate, which he had a death certificate, right? So you have death certificate and things of this nature that show that these weren't the same people, but you can still try to make your case, right? You can still do that because this is how things roll now. As far as evidence and things of that nature, people are very reckless with what they're saying and doing, and with being scholarly and approaching things in a scholastic manner where you're actually listing the sources where you're getting this stuff from, so that people can go backwards and trace what you're trying to say. All right, but I'm just saying that there's actually Moorish scholars, right? Even people who have been in this movement since the 60s, since the 70s, some who even longer than that, right? Who could tell you the links and show you the ways that that this man Jacob Dorman was in error when he's trying to connect the prophet to Walter Brister. All right, but one of the main things was just off of the appearance, right? Now he's saying ask to see the evidence on the website. He's got more than 14,000 archival photographs and newspaper articles. Now, he does show in here, he gets off the point talking about how you had so-called African American, so-called Negroes who would join the circus, begin wearing the turban, and allude to being Asiatics or Afro-Asiatics, right? And that's interesting. That's cool. That's history. The book could have just been about that. But let's look at these primary sources and see how solid they are. All right, so there's 2 pages of primary sources. So speaking about the life of Walter Brister, he says June 4th, 1888. Census, shows that Walter Brister was born in the year before he was 1 year old. He was living in Kentucky, right? The prophet, of course, we also have records on his life showing that he was born in 1886. Not a birth certificate. You don't have birth certificates on any of these people. But just, some discrepancies there. Okay, so Walter Brister was older than Prophet Noble Drew Ali, showing that he grew up in Kentucky, right? And which is, being shown some things from his life, saying that he was in this band, right? I'm not really gonna focus on all of this. I'm gonna breeze through some of this. You can go and check this out yourselves. There's more information on here, but just some of the sources that we're shown. All right, he's saying these are primary sources. The Hindu Dance of Death, 1898 was a big year for Walter Brister. He was still on the road with the show in Old Kentucky. Moved with his father from Cincinnati to Covington, Kentucky. Right, so he's moving around. He began a new role of Armand Sotanki. So he had already started, getting into these circus type acts, where he's taking on this Asiatic or Indian Hindu appearance, right? Saying he met a woman, he married his future wife, right? His wife died or it ended in divorce. He joined the Pawnee Bill Wild West show for the first time in 1899. He's got the marriage license up here, right? All interesting stuff. Cool. On this person's life, right? But then he also alludes to the lady that he was married to being the person who's in this photo, and this is his wife at the time, Princess Sotanki, right? He's alluding to her being the person who's in this photo. That I don't even know if Dorman knows who this person is, but I do. He's alluding to this lady, who I believe he's talking about the lady who's seated next to the prophet, being that same Princess Sultana lady, and this lady was Brother Lomax Bey's wife. Okay, so that was Brother Lomax Bey's wife, and I can't blow this up. Maybe I can get another copy of that picture. I don't. We'll have to get another copy of that picture to blow it up, because this one's real small. But if you look, like, I can't zoom in on it, but if you zoom in on it, I mean, just off the circumstantial evidence, just off of the picture image, this is not the same person. He's trying to allude that these two traveling in packs, she was in on his faking his death, and like they're not the same person. He's saying, oh, she aged and changed, her whole facial structure became someone else, and so there's so many holes in this story. All right, that this would be a whole different discussion. Just looking at this evidence, which is flimsy at best. Oh, there you go. He blew it up for us, right? This is not the same person. And I understand he's saying, okay, time had passed, but time doesn't cause your whole entire nose to change, right? Your lips. Now, change, wrinkles, certain things, but the entire bridge of your nose, I mean, I guess if you got in like an accident or something like that, but there's just so many holes in it. So many holes. And to be making that claim based off of um photographic evidence, using that term evidence really lightly. That's that's very shaky. There's nothing, solid in those assertions. And then saying the similarities in their life, right? Prophet Drew Ali, Noble Drew Ali was born 1886. John Walter Brister was born in 1879. Thought it was 1880. 18, yeah, oh yeah, 1879, right? He was the first black child star on Broadway, right? And you could have make the whole entire book about this guy, Walter Brister. Interesting story, right? Just in that alone. But no, you're making an assertion that is, flimsy at best. But here's the thing: when you do something like this and you throw it out there on the internet, all types of people take it and run with it, even if it's flimsy at best. So someone else can just take it as if it's true. And one reason why a person would do that, well, I'll share you. I'll tell you why, just point blank. Um, if you look at Jacob Dorman, like I mentioned before, okay, he's of European descent. Let's just keep it real. Honestly, what it is, people still in 2024 see Europeans as the authority figures. Now, I'm not saying everybody does. I might not feel like that, but a lot of people do. So if a European says it, and especially if they put it in a book or if they put it in a video, even nowadays, just put it in a YouTube video, but especially if you write a book, oh, everybody takes it as authority. And then on top of that, like I said, Dorman's a professor, PhD, associate professor of history at the University of Nevada, Reno, right? So he has credentials, okay? And for him to do that, like I said, with flimsy evidence. Now, he may be interested in African American history, right? African American culture, religious movements, and he may have thought that this is some obscure movement. He may have been aware. I don't know that there are people who are identifying as Moorish American, but may not have been aware of how deep this goes. That within the temple, you actually have religious scholars. You actually have Moorish American scholars that are actually organized, that actually have scholastic groups, that actually are able to check each other if anyone's research is not up to date or not correct, right? And that also have oral traditions and history dating back to actually when the prophet and the temple was up and running in the 1920s. Okay, and you could have tapped into those resources to check, and see if, hey, what I'm putting in this book, is this official, does this line up with the history? You could actually do things like that, which is what you would do if you're doing research on Jewish Americans. You're doing research on, pretty much anybody else, right, except for the so-called lowly Negro. You're going to you know check in with the authorities on that culture. And the authorities on that culture wouldn't be someone from outside of that culture. It can't be because there's so many things that you don't know and can't know unless you're actually a part of this movement. All right. You wouldn't know that there are people who just recently passed away, well, maybe in the last decade or so, I shouldn't say recently, that were actually, alive in the prophet's time. They actually knew him, right? And there are people who, have maintained ties and who have, been a part of this for longer than I've been alive, longer than he's been alive as well. Okay. But when people put this information out, right or wrong, other people take it and run with it. Just saying it like this is just true. Oh yeah, Walter Brisker, aka Timothy Drew. Wrong on both fronts. Both of those names. And then you're saying AKA as if Prophet Noble Drew Ali was some type of criminal. What is the AKA? The also known as. Criminals have AKAs. Why would you do that? Then another example right here saying, why did he? This is an attack on Prophet Noble Drew Ali. It's saying, was he even real? Was he even a real person? Now, once again, we have people who actually knew him in the flesh, right? They could document that. Of course, he was a real person. Why did he have to plagiarize the Holy Book of the Moorish Circle 7 from the Aquarian Gospel of Christ? Now, that could be a legitimate question because there are parts of the Aquarian Gospel of Christ that are the exact same as the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, affectionately referred to as the Circle 7, right? So you do have lessons and teachings in there that are the same, all right? Why would that be? Well, let's look at the Aquarian Gospel of Christ. It's written by Levi Dowling, who's from Ohio. Well, let's look into that, right? So you look at the Aquarian Gospel of Christ, written by Levi Dowling, and let's see if we can get a picture of Levi Dowling. Okay, so this is Levi Dowling, right? It says 1844 is when he was born in Belleville, Ohio. American preacher who authored the Aquarian Gospel of Christ. So Levi Dowling was of European descent. All right. And what did he say that he got the Aquarian Gospel from? Because, people are going to say, well, dude, Prophet Noble Drew Ali just plagiarized it. Now, when we look at our Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, it doesn't say authored by Prophet Noble Drew Ali. It doesn't say, hey, I made this all up. This all came out the top of my head. It says the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. It got the circle 7 on there. And then it says divinely prepared by the noble prophet Drew Ali. Divinely prepared. Meaning the lessons that fit in with these divine instructions that are going to be brought to his people, right? They're all divinely prepared, put in here together to bring about a great work within us, to make us all inspired to be the strength of Allah made manifest. Now, let's go back to the Aquarian Gospel because there's a story about this. Levi Dowling, the American preacher who authored the Aquarian Gospel. Let's see, where did he get this from? He began preaching at the age of 16. Even as a child, he was impressed with the sensitiveness of fine ethers and believed in some manner they were sensitized on plates on which sounds, even thoughts, were recorded. He studied etheric vibration. He was determined to solve the great mysteries of the heavens for himself. He claimed to have spent 40 years in study and silent meditation. And he eventually reached a stage of spiritual consciousness that permitted him to enter the domain of the superfine ethers he had referred to and become familiar with their mysteries. He claimed that during the meditation, he was even able to repeat events as many times as necessary in order to produce a perfect transcript. He said that he spent many months transcribing the events he supposedly witnessed in what he called the Book of God's Remembrance, or the Akashic Records. So he's saying that he tapped into the Akashic Records. And the book he produced from these meditations is known as the Aquarian Gospel. All right? He's saying he got it from the Akashic Records. And I mean, hey, if you're look like this, all types of people will just take your word for it. Hey, you got it from the Aquarian Gospel. I mean, he got it from the Akashic Records. He did it first. So he didn't even say that he made it up. He said he got it from the Akashic records, right? Which is, like physically something that's invisible that records everything. Something that actually, if you attain to spiritual enlightenment, we all have access to. That's what he's saying, right? So I guess, if you're of European descent, hey, you got it right. You did it first. There's also a portion of the Holy Quran that is the same as a portion of Unto Thee I Grant. Unto Thee I Grant, I believe the Rosicrucian Society says that they got that from scrolls in Tibet, right? Ancient scrolls in Tibet, right? Which, going back to the Quran, if you look into it, the prophet said, okay, divinely prepared from what? From lessons that were held back by the Muslims of India, Egypt, and Palestine. They kept the secrets back from the outside world. When the time was appointed, they loosened the keys, right? Delivered it to the hands of Muslims all over the world. So here we go. All right. So anyway, yeah, just want to attack that because I mean, once again, people put people of European descent on a pedestal. This Walter Brister thing, that whole Walter Brister came from Jacob Dorman's book with his flimsy evidence. Then the Aquarian Gospel attack, hey, that's coming from Levi Dowling. He said he got it from the Akashic records, right? If he can get it from the Akashic records, why can't Prophet Noble Drew Ali divinely prepare it? Okay, so people still look to the Europeans for everything, still worship them in many ways, and still see them, just in general, see them as the authority figures on everything. Just when it comes down to it, that's what they see. Um, so he's saying, why did his teachings make the Moors foreigners from Northwest Africa, with his Moab and Morocco as the homeland of the Moors, when the Americas is the superior Moab and the superior Morocco? Now, his assertion that the Americas is the superior Morocco, superior Moab, superior to what? Superior to the Morocco and Moab over there, right? Based off of what? Based off of your own belief, your own assertions. Not really based off of fact, because if we're going to look into your books and look into sources that you have in your books, don't really have any sources. You don't really have anything to back that up. This is the belief now that you have as a new religion that America is here first. America is superior. Okay? Because you're going all the way in that direction now. America is first. The stuff over there ain't even real. Have you ever even been over there to this place that you don't think is real, right? To the east. So what the prophet is connecting us to is something that actually is real and circumstantial, and that we can use to trace ourselves back through time. So just, you know what, I'm not going to take up a whole lot of time on this video, but just going back to the Quran, the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, put some respect on the Quran. So going back to the Holy Quran, chapter 47, when it's speaking about Egypt, the capital empire, the dominion of Africa, the inhabitants of Africa are the descendants of the ancient Canaanites from the land of Canaan. Old man Cush and his family are the first inhabitants of Africa who came from the land of Canaan. His father Ham and his family were second. Then came the word Ethiopia, which means the demarcation line of the dominion of Amexem, the first true and divine name of Africa, the dividing of the land between the father and the son. The dominion of Cush, northeast and southeast Africa, and northwest and southwest was his father's dominion of Africa. In later years, many of their brethren from Asia and the Holy Lands joined them. The Moabites from the land of Moab, who received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle and inhabit northwest Africa. They were the founders and are the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire, with their Canaanite, Hittite, and Amorite brethren who sojourned from the land of Canaan seeking new homes. Their dominion and habitation extended from northeast and southwest Africa across the great Atlantis, even into the present North, South, and Central America, and also Mexico and the Atlantis Islands before the great earthquake which caused the great Atlantic Ocean. So this is just speaking on the connection, how you actually had people that moved from one part of the world to the next, right? Moors, Moabites, okay? And they They were from the land of Canaan. So, you could actually also say they were Canaanites. Now, if we look into this, right? If we actually look into this what's being explained to us, we can trace ourselves back through history for real, and not with just memes. Because when you look at what a lot of people are doing now, they're just spreading and sharing memes, just spreading, sharing memes, making videos, putting pictures in there, using AI to make things look how they want them to look, which anyone can do now. All right. But if we actually look into what the prophet brought to us nearly 100 years ago, we can actually use this information to trace ourselves back through times. For real. Not for fake. Not just, to say something that sounds good that makes us feel good. Not just to assert that America is superior because we're from America. We've always been in America forever and ever and ever. Right? No. No, we can actually trace the movement. So the people in the Phoenician Empire, the Canaanites, right, from the land of Canaan, remember the Phoenicians were Canaanites. These people actually did make a move from that area in the Eastern Mediterranean, right? This area and like what they now would call, I guess you could say, the Holy Land, right? That they did actually move, and we actually have records of them communicating with the pharaohs of Egypt and getting permission to settle and inhabit in that land in north West Africa. All right, this is real. This is actually something that can be traced through time. And now I'm just going to read a little bit from this text, right? The Canaanites migrating throughout the land. Let's see, the Australian Journal of Biblical Archaeology, the beginnings of the Israelite diaspora. So this is speaking on the Canaanites, right? And it's speaking about the journey that they made. It's saying here, Jews in Phoenicia, right? So I'm just gonna read some of the highlighted parts. Just saying, there's little doubt that the Ugarites were the cultural ancestors of the Hebrews and the Phoenicians of Hebrew times. And as so far as the Eastern Mediterranean is concerned, the Phoenician followed in the routes they had worked out, right? However, Phoenician enterprise were not confined to a shadowy traversing of the sea lanes in the Mediterranean and the Red Sea. We are fairly certain that they penetrated the Atlantic Ocean on their way along the western coast of Spain. Okay? So they went not only just into North Africa, right? And the people saying this stuff, have you ever been to Carthage? Have you ever been to any of these places, these settlements, these ancient places, right? Before you're trying to make all these assertions about how that stuff isn't real, right? The Ugaritic texts also mention a people named the Hyperu, right? Hebrew, whom it is dangerous to allow to enter one's home. All right. And these people were known long before this date, both in Mesopotamia and Canaan, and it seems likely that Israel was one of their groups. So the Hebrew or the Hebrew people were in strife with the Canaanites, right? They couldn't get along. The Canaanites reached out to Pharaoh Akhenaten for permission to settle and inhabit in Northwest Africa. All right. And north meaning just west of the Nile River. All right. And so this happened, but these people were also seafaring people, so it was nothing for them to come across the Atlantic Ocean into the Americas. But remember, the prophet let us know that they also traversed into the Americas before the great earthquake, which caused the Atlantic Ocean. And we can actually see, like, this is going to be a long video if we try to go through and show all the ancient cultures that actually recorded witnessing earthquakes and things that actually caused the land to change, caused lands to sink under the ocean and lands to rise above the ocean, right? But this is like a documented fact throughout history for several cultures. So it's not like it's just one people saying it occurred. Like several cultures throughout the world recorded calamities that caused the the lands to change. All right, the continents to break up. Okay, but just saying this because we actually can trace ourselves back through history just by looking at what was brought to us as Moorish Americans, and now doing scholastic research, actually getting out and doing our own archaeological research, right? Not depending on other people anymore who are going to alter things to fit their own view, right? Who are going to, try to put out their own story. Who are going to try to, connect themselves, even maybe if they don't fit in the area, right? We can do it ourselves. We have our own Moorish scholars. Um, Going back to the same post though, because in general, it's just an attack on the prophet and what he brought. Saying, takes an insane and indoctrinated people to push the label brand of Moorish American on our people when this label is on the national terrorist watch list. It's not even a nationality. This is why Moorish Americans are dangerous. Religion is to run its course. Why not claim an older and more respected nationality like Tartar, Atlantean, okay, Ethiopian, okay, Atlantean, like that doesn't sound even more outlandish and crazy. Hey, look, we're not more American anymore. I'm an Atlantean. We're the Atlantean Americans. We're just Atlanteans. Like we the Lemurians. Like go, come on, man. And then a lot of people think they sound smart, saying, "Oh, moorish, ish is bad. Ish, you don't know how to read. Go to Merriam-Webster's dictionary. Ish, adjective suffix. So when you add the ish to the end of word, it means of, relating to, or being. Being, simply being. This is what I am. Of, relating to, or being. Chiefly in adjectives indicating nationality or ethnic group. And that would be the way that it's used because you got the example finish, right? Of, relating to, or being. Chiefly in adjectives indicating nationality or ethnic group. So being Moorish, that connects us back to who we are. Once again, too, if you go to the old Webster's Dictionary, 1828, you'll see ish annexed to names forms a possessive adjective, as in Swedish, Danish, English. This is the proper way that it's used with Moorish, right? Like Swedish, Danish, English. So it forms a possessive adjective. What is a possessive adjective? A possessive adjective is an adjective that modifies a noun to indicate who owns or possesses it. For example, in this sentence, Andrew lost his keys. The word his is a possessive adjective that shows the keys belong to Andrew. So ish is a possessive adjective when you add it to the end of a noun. So this is something that belongs to us. We possess it. We are Moorish.
Who said the prophet didn't connect us to the ancient Atlanteans?
Yeah, I mean, this is people not being able to understand and read. Just like, reading comprehension, reading's fundamental, showing what Moorish actually means, right? Possessive adjective, we own, we possess this. This is who we are. This indicates who owns or possesses it. We are the Moorish. If you don't like it, it's because you're not the Moorish. You're something else, and that's fine. That's okay. But once again, people don't have reading comprehension skills, because if you just look at just two verses in here, you'll see that, hey, we are the Atlanteans. I don't even have to say we the Atlanteans, sounding even more crazy, right? You don't have to say that. This is what this means. This is what it means right here. If your dominion and inhabitation extended from Northeast and Southwest Africa, y'all hate Africa. Never even been, but you hate it. I just know I hate it. Yeah, I get it. I understand. Because when I was young, they showed us, the Ethiopian children starving. Not even knowing, man, Ethiopians, man, they have a rich country. But they always showed them starving and showed other Africans starving and showed Africans killing each other. And it just made them look stupid and dumb. It just made it look horrible. So it was like, yeah, I hate Africa. I don't want to go there. Ain't nothing over there. Right? And so you think you're smart. You think, oh, yeah, America's first. America always been first. And not realizing, that you're still stuck in the lower self. You're stuck in the lower self, and you're trying to prove some type of superiority that doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. It doesn't. Right? But just going back to this, their dominion and inhabitation extended from Northeast and Southwest Africa. across the Great Atlantis, even into the present North, South, Central America, and also Mexico and the Atlantis Islands before the Great Earthquake, which caused the Atlantic Ocean. Well, duh, that means we are the Atlanteans. You know, that's what that means. Because the great earthquake, which caused the Atlantic Ocean, and you were over there and civilized before that happens, that means that you were the people who were civilized and started to degenerate to the point where you were bringing evil into the world. And so, yeah, boom, now you're being punished. Great earthquake. We're going to sink Atlantis. It's time to reset. All right. And so now you've got people who are, coming into some understanding, and now they want to put down Africa. And they're like, it was all from America. America. Instead of seeing what it really is that you had colonies where it was civilized, where we had culture, where we had schools, where we had universities and temples and castles and agriculture. And it was in Africa. And it was in India. And it was in Japan. That's why you got the sunken ruins off of the coast of Japan, where it's obvious that these are man made because they're like straight, a whole bunch of straight angles, 90-degree angles, to the point where it's like, come on, man, don't try to act like this is, just something that was just made by nature, right? It was made by humans. That's the only way it was made by nature. It was made by human hands. But I'm just saying, you have colonies in different parts of the world, right? Even in Europe, even in the Americas, North, South, Central America, and the Atlantis Islands. You know, and so it wasn't just, oh, America first, America. Come on, man, you're going too far. You're going so far that you're falling off. And then the people who are saying this stuff, who are trying to assert that there was no civilization anywhere else, it was just the Americas, right? America, what's the America, the true old is the true old world. Mood discussed. So the other stuff is ancient, right? In Southeast Asia and all these other parts, that's not real. This the only one is real, right here. Why? Because I said so. And I got some memes and some pictures that prove it. This is, better than this Jacob Dorman who's trying to prove that Walter Brister was the prophet because of some old fuzzy, funky pictures that you can barely see clear enough. And the ones that you can see clear enough, that you can actually blow up and see, the good quality ones, it's obvious these ain't the same people. All right? So where's the grand evidence? There's none. There is none. It doesn't exist. But what you do have is a lot of foolishness being spread, a lot of ignorance being spread, blasphemy. It's blasphemous, man. It's crazy. And so I'm just saying, you can't make this assertion, and then you're also asserting that the prophet is Walter Briscoe. Well, that's error. That can easily be shot down. It's a lie made up by a European with his book, which is flimsy and just highly suspect that a professor would put that out. Okay. And also, it's actually inappropriate. It's culturally inappropriate that this would be done when there are actual Moorish scholars, right, with more connection to the source than anyone else that could have been, talked to. They're even ones who have been putting out books before that book was put out. All right. So I'm not surprised by any of it. It's just, it's disappointing to see. And when things like this get spread, it's like, well, honestly, I got to take this stuff down because this is spreading falsehood and spreading confusion. Okay. Some people, you're going so far trying to distance yourself from Africa that you just jumped off the deep end. You don't know nothing. Let me see you touch down in Carthage. Let me see you touch down in Egypt, in Mauritania, in Grenada, in Canaan, in any of these other places, and see you actually do some research on the ground, and do some tests on the things you're claiming the old temples and stuff over there is fake. Let me see you do some tests to prove that. All right, because you actually have people who maybe didn't go through the process that we did to not know our history. They actually still have ties to that land. It's been there for a long time. Okay, they can trace themselves back and then know that it's real. But and then you have also a continuous line of history, in places like that, that it just sounds insane for anyone to try to assert that that stuff's fake. But I, just wanted to speak on that briefly, and just wanted to get this out there. And on that note, we're out. Peace and love. Yeah. So real quick though, yeah. Well, Morris, I'm gonna just ask everybody to like and share this video, and we're gonna go ahead and get out. Peace.